What's going on, guys? I've wanted to make this video for a few weeks. I've just been extremely busy, but I'm very excited to show you two things. One, the records that I've taken home with me from the store, and not as many as you would think. I think I'm doing pretty well when it comes to self-restraint, but there were some that I just could not live without. I'll show you those, and then I'll show you the albums that I have discovered since opening a record store. One of my greatest joys of having the store is going to the store and pulling out a random record I've never heard, listening to it, and then falling in love with it. So the ones I'm going to show you there, I don't necessarily have a lot to tell you about those records because I've just discovered them myself. But I will say every record I tell you about, if you are interested, give it a listen, and I think you will enjoy it quite a bit. So let's start with the stuff that I have taken back with me from the store. It looks just like a standard pressing of The Wall, right? Well, it's missing its obi strip. It is actually a Japanese pressing, and I've read on Discogs, people are saying that the Japanese pressing sounds absolutely phenomenal. In my collection, I have a pretty standard VG Plus copy of this, so I'm gonna listen to this, and if it sounds as amazing as I think, I'll keep it. Otherwise, it probably goes in the store, but I'm probably gonna keep it. Time of the Zombies. So this is actually a really cool compilation, and it's a promo as well. I spun it, it sounds fantastic, but the beginning of it, the first two sides are basically just a bunch of random songs from the early Zombies. If you're not familiar with the Zombies, it's kind of like a 60s, 70s psychedelic, incredible group. You definitely know a bunch of hits from their second record, Odyssey and Oracle, at the very least, and probably some stuff from their early catalog as well. But this is a cool compilation. I love that it's a promo, it's a gatefold, and it sounds really good too. But it's a bunch of random songs on the first side, and then all of Odyssey and Oracle on sides 3 and 4, which is really interesting. I don't know what the context of this existing is, but it sounds great, so I'm keeping it. I got this in a trade-in, Death Grips No Love Deep Web. I'm not going to show you what's underneath here because I will get banned from YouTube. But if you know, you know. Album art's pretty controversial. Death Grip's one of those bands I've always enjoyed, but I never really gave them their due. I never really spent enough time with their records. I always knew I loved The Money Store and Ex-Military, but the rest I wasn't that familiar with. The only one I knew I didn't really love was Jenny Death, which was a little too aggressive for me. No Love Deep Web is amazing, and not only is the album amazing, but this pressing is stellar. It really tested the limits of the store system. I can't wait to listen to it on the Clearaudio, but yeah, really excited to have this in the collection. A classic Mo-Fi record from the 80s. This is Foreigner's Double Vision, which is a great, great record. I mean, some of their best songs are on here. Hot Blooded, Double Vision, Blue Morning, Blue Day. But the whole album is stellar, and I only own a standard version of this, so I thought I'd upgrade. This is a half-speed mastered copy of Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run, and I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna sound any better than the regular pressing, but I've read it does, so I'm excited to hear this. This is my favorite Bruce record, so getting to hear some of these songs like Jungle Land and Born to Run and 10th Avenue Freeze Out and Thunder Road, half-speed mastered, is pretty exciting. Also part of a trade-in, the very hard to find John Frusciante DC EP. It came out around the time of his solo album Curtains, which is fantastic. This has not received a repress in quite some time, and it's 4 tracks that are unbelievably iconic in Frusciante's solo catalog, very close to the stuff he does on the Brown Bunny soundtrack, very similar aesthetic to that, which, as you guys know, is my favorite thing that Frusciante's ever done. You never see this come along, I had to take it. This is an Al Green's Greatest Hits, just a standard, I think it's a repress, I don't know. Yeah, 2009 it says, but I spun it in the store and it sounded amazing. So I was like, you know what, I don't own this. I don't actually own any Al Green records, so I'll take this for now and maybe upgrade the copy or get some of the solo stuff as it goes on. Another absolute classic, this is Steely Dan's Asia, and what I was shocked to see, this came in a collection buy. This is not the black copy. This is from the era it came out, and it is on red vinyl. We match. Seriously amazing record, and it's considered to be one of the best engineered records sonically. A lot of people use this to test systems, so I had to grab this cool red pressing. You don't really see a lot of color vinyl from the 70s, but here is one of them, and it's pretty hard to find this version. I hope it sounds as good as the black pressing, but as a collector's item, this is pretty neat. I couldn't pass this up. Next up, we have 2 Nautilus Super Disc releases, the first being the Cars self-titled, which is one of the best debut albums of all time, as you guys probably know. These Nautilus Super Discs sound fantastic, so I'm really excited to hear how this one sounds. And also a Nautilus half-speed master of Dreamboat Annie by Heart, which is, again, an absolutely iconic classic record, and I'm really excited to hear this. I'm really trying to prioritize audiophile recordings, digital or analog. I feel like I had to say that with whatever's going on in the community right now. Just a good sounding record is all that matters to me. End of story. Then we got a couple pretty damn clean early issues of Sabbath Records. I didn't have any Black Sabbath because every time I find them in a store, they're way too pricey, or they, I don't know, they just are too beat up for my taste. But we got Paranoid, we got Volume 4, and we have their first record. So all really, really clean. I don't know which issue each one is, but they're early. They're definitely from the era they came out. Excited to give those a spin. And last but not least, for the things that I found and brought home, I just got this clean copy of Pink Floyd Metal. I get more of these in than I would expect. I thought they were kind of hard to find, but this is a very nice, clean copy of it, and this is just a great record. But now let's get into the things that I've discovered. And again, I can't really elaborate the way I usually do with certain albums because I don't really know too much about these albums, but I'll tell you what I do know, and we'll go from there. First up, we have Lonnie Smith, Move Your Hand. I will tell you that I've always enjoyed funk and soul and some jazz to an extent, but being the store owner now and getting to dive into these genres way more, I am really developing not just an affinity, but even a taste within the genres of artists that I'm starting to like, which is super cool, and it feels like it's really expanding my palette as a music fan. And this is someone I didn't know existed. Lonnie Smith, Move Your Hands, a Blue Note release. Very funky, jammy, extremely catchy. This whole album blew me away when I listened to it, and I had to keep it because it's just so good. This is another funk band from Portland, actually. This is Slickophonic, and this was a reissue done. I don't know what the label is that did it. This was a reissue that was kind of like, they found the master tapes, I believe, and they just were able to do a reissue a few years back. It's not that hard to find, but if you like funk, I think it's from the 70s. Really, really solid release front to back, and I was really surprised. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There's a really nice I Shot 'Em Down Bob Marley homage on here, which is just super well done. I'm also discovering a lot of cool psychedelic stuff from the 60s and 70s that I never heard of. This is one that surprised me. This is For Fox's Sake, Volume 1, The Fox. Just like, look at these guys. Awesome, awesome records, psychedelic pop. I'm not sure when it came out. I think it was the late 60s, but yeah, really, really good front to back. And the final song is a song called Madam Magical that's almost 10 minutes long. Just awesome. Another super great kind of soulful, funky record by Bobby Humphrey, Satin Doll. This one is not hard to find. You can find it for a good price, even though it's a Blue Note record. I have a second copy of this in the Matt's Picks bin at the store. Really good. Bobby plays the flute and does vocals, and her flute playing is fantastic. It really kind of gives like this whimsical element to the really soulful, funky record. And this is an artist that I've really started to love. Pretty much everything I've heard from him is stellar. This is Grover Washington Jr., Mr. Magic. And Mr. Magic is just maybe my favorite thing I've heard of his. Again, just kind of funk brilliance, really catchy, great to listen to, great background music, but also just incredible players on here. Yeah, highly recommend checking this out. If you don't know Grover Washington Jr., this is a great one to start with. And yet another soulful funk record. This is Kokomo's first record. They're self-titled. I was sold on the cover art alone, and I listened to it, and I was, again, blown away. You would not expect these people to make some absolutely killer laid-back funk, but they sure do. And I've actually heard that their second record's even better, so hopefully I'll track that one down at some point soon. But yeah, Kokomo, really, really good. This is one I hope to get a better copy in the future because this has a little bit of surface noise, but it's hard to find. This is Red, Black, and Green by Roy Ayers. Really, really solid. Again, just kind of like soulful funk. I mean, they got Ain't No Sunshine, Bill Withers to start it off. The whole thing is just a really, really terrific listen, and I know that a lot of his stuff is desirable, and I've heard the name before, but I've never really spent time with it, and now I just want to listen to his whole catalog because this album is so good. I don't think it's had a repress in a while, if I remember my research correctly, and it definitely deserves one, but hopefully I can get a near mint copy at some point. This is a nice starter copy. If you're into power pop, this one surprised me. I pulled it up on Discogs to price it, and it was going for like $25 to $40, and I was like, that's random for just like a random 1980s power pop record. And I listened to it, and it's really, really good. A lot of the power pop I hear from the 80s is kind of generic, and this one definitely, the melodies stand a foot above some of the other ones. Really, really enjoy this. And if you like power pop, check out the Heats, especially this record, which is called Have an Idea. It's good. I've notoriously said I'm not huge into the blues, but I heard this record and it stopped me in my tracks. This is Albert King, Livewire Blues Power. Just an unbelievable player. The amount of personality and character that this guy has while playing the guitar is truly insane. I was captivated from the first second of the album to the last. He has some great crowd banter as well. But this album is stellar and definitely one of the best blues records I've ever heard in my limited experience. Here's another cool one. This is Science Fiction Walls Don't Exist. This is an incredible record that is very much in the same vein as DJ Shadow and the Avalanches, a little plunderphonic-y, a little trip-hoppy, a little beat-tapey. But what I was extremely surprised about was the last track, uncredited on the back, so it was a total surprise to me. It has an MF Doom verse that's amazing. But yeah, this whole thing is a great listen, and if you ever stumble across it, definitely check it out. Science Fiction, Walls Don't Exist. So shout out to my boy Van, who comes in the store with his wonderful girlfriend Sunny all the time, pretty much every weekend. And he brought me this as a trade-in, and I'm so glad he did. This is Masahiro Sugaya, Horizon Volume 1. Just a stellar ambient record, exactly the kind of ambient I like. It's very pretty and very melodic while still being very simplistic, and I love this variant. It just matches so nicely. And what's nice about this is that, you know, with ambient records, it can be make or break with surface noise, and this one has no surface noise. It is a stellar pressing of a really killer album. So if you're into ambient music, definitely check this out. I did not know about it, so thank you, Van. This one might be my favorite discovery. One of my top 3 discoveries of this video, for sure. This was a record that I pulled out of a pile, and I immediately was like, oh, dollar bin. I was like, maybe $5 bin. I better look it up. So I looked it up. And to my surprise, this is not some easy listening BS. This is actually a masterful, unbelievable psychedelic pop record. 1970 it came out, and it is so catchy and beautiful. I was blown away. This cover must be a joke, or it must just be some kind of joke I don't understand, but you look at this and you immediately think this is gonna be just garbage. And this is anything but. I'm so happy I actually looked it up, and now it makes me wanna look up every record I see in case I have another discovery like this. This is so good. And apparently this is his only record, Bergen White, that is like this. After this, I think he did another record 10 years later that was all like gospel music, I believe. So this is kind of like a flash in the pan, and it's like a if you know, you know kind of thing. Definitely go listen to it. If you like early psychedelic pop from like the 60s and 70s, I really think you'll dig this. I have to go like this because this is an offensive cover, at least offensive enough for YouTube to ban me. But this is something that also came in a trade-in. This is the Twilight Singers' She Loves You. I'm gonna flip it around like this. Twilight Singers is a band I didn't know existed, but now that I know, I'm obsessed. So it's a supergroup of sorts, and it features Greg from the Afghan Wigs, who's the main guy. And then there's also a ton of other really interesting people on it, including Mark Lonigan, who lends his vocals to many of these tracks. I was blown away by their cover of Bjork's Hyper Ballad as like a folky kind of indie song. Absolutely nailed it. Like, really one of the coolest covers I've ever heard. My only issue is that this copy is a little noisy, a little surface noise throughout, which is a bummer. The problem is it's been out of print for a long time, so copies of this usually go for over 120, if not closer to 200. So maybe I'll get a repress and I'll upgrade it, but I had to keep it just because I loved every single cover that was on this record. The players on it are just all so stellar. This is another kind of private press type release. This was only released once on vinyl. It's a local Portland act, Rattlesnake Joe. Really good, just kind of country folky, but like some elements reminded me almost of like Fleet Foxes at times, like obviously decades before they were even a band, but I really enjoyed this. I don't know where you can even listen to this, maybe YouTube, but really, I like finding these like local private press records. I think that's kind of like what's fun about digging through people's collections. You find things like this that are like, you know, one-offs that may never get a reissue and most people may never hear. But yeah, Rattlesnake Joe, very cool. I got this copy of Casey and the Sunshine Band because I realized I never heard one of their full records, and this entire record front to back is party bangers for days. Just so good. The disc itself was pretty scratched, and it ended up playing really nicely in the store, so I decided to keep it. You run across this every now and again, but I don't have it, so now I do. And then we have this absolutely brilliant record, Cantar by Gal Costa, one of my all-time favorite Brazilian artists. Unfortunately, this sleeve has seen better days. It looks like maybe a dog got to it, or it was run over by a car. Who's to say? Really just kind of coming apart in every possible way, but you never see an actual Brazilian press of this record. This is considered to be one of her best albums, and really excited that this plays so nicely. I definitely say it plays VG+, and it's just a beautiful record. It's one of my favorite Brazilian records of the era, without question, and to have an original copy like this is rad, so I had to keep that. And this is another one that was kind of a random trade-in that I really enjoyed, and I discovered her April March in Cinerama. I don't know too much about her history, but she has a bunch of records, a lot of collab records, kind of does this kind of like a little bossa nova at times, a little French pop at times, a little indie pop. She has an amazing voice, really, really catchy, and these songs are super loungy and enjoyable. This whole album front to back, I played it twice across 2 different days because I just like was so into it and it's so chill. And now I want to track down all her other stuff, some of which is highly out of print, but she's awesome. And last but not least, 2 albums by the legend Gabor Szabo. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. You probably have heard about him if you're not already a fan through Vinyl Me Please when they reissued his seminal album Dreams. But these 2 in particular, they were in a collection, and man, first of all, these jackets, both these jackets, like super tough, glossy, you know, nice gatefold going on. But both of these have such stellar covers on them too. This one has a painted black cover that's incredible, and this one has a Sunshine Superman Donovan cover. Really, really good kind of like jazzy stuff that incorporates a bit of world music into it, and I now want to collect everything this guy's ever done because he is amazing. So yeah, there you have it. That's a longer video than I thought it would be, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Maybe I should have split this into 2. Maybe you enjoyed watching the entire journey. Let me know in the comments what you think about this video if you want to see more of these over time. Would love to keep showing you the cool stuff I'm discovering to help you discover them as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you watched this far, don't forget, TMR 15 is up for pre-order right now. The 15th record on my record label. Link will be in the description for that. So check that out, and more videos and live streams coming soon. So thanks for watching. Take it easy.